And it was really interesting. And the most interesting thing was a research study that they did with centenarians. So these are people who are over 100 years old. So they're on death's doorstep, right? And like our mortality seems to have an effective way of clearing out bullshit.
Yeah,
right? So it's like, like so people who are on death's doorstep don't have any reason to BS. So they asked these older people, what would you do different? Looking back now that you got all this clarity, and you just mentioned there was amazing uniformity of responses.
Yeah.
And three of the top responses were: I would take more risks. I would slow down and appreciate how magical life is without me even having to do anything, just appreciate.
Yeah.
Third one is the one you just said, is I would be way less obsessed with my own success and way more committed to leaving a legacy and making a difference.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I hear all of those. And, I think different things, intertwine with different things because I do believe, a spirit of excellence and a level of personal success can lead to opportunities for impact that are different, if you didn't have that. So I think so much of it, but again, I think it comes back to why am I chasing the success? Like, what is the ultimate goal? What is the ultimate focus of my life? Is it for me, or is it to do these things to have impact and have a further reach than I have right now? Yeah. So I mean, that's a great question. I mean, I often have had people ask me too, what would you go back and tell your younger self, or what would you do differently? And I sometimes struggle with the answer because I think, it's easy to go back and say a few of these things, but I also think my journey is what made me who I am. And my journey is what convicted me in certain things and prepared me for what was coming next. And so, sometimes it's like, well, I would have said this, and so I could have avoided that. And for me, for a lot of my career, I would have said the same thing. Like, man, I didn't want to go through that. I didn't want to have this story. I didn't want to have this journey. And then when I find myself on the other side, I'm like, oh my gosh, how grateful am I that I got the journey that I had? Because each step of the way taught me, prepared me for something else, and each step of the way shaped me into the person that I am today. And, when I did get into, my success playing football, I already knew who I was. I knew what I was living for, and I knew what the focus of that entire period of time and really the rest of my life was going to be about. And so I look at myself so grateful because some people fall into that success really early, where they find themselves in a position they've never been before and they've never really prepared for, and they don't really know how to handle it. And so I realized I needed so many different things. And even the stuff that I would have loved to have told myself to maybe had avoided something here or there, I look back and go, you know what? I learned it. The only reason I have something to tell myself now is because I've learned something along the way that I would go back and tell myself because I've already learned it. And